welcome. And I'll dispense with the formalities here of whatnot, but we are recording the session for your benefit. And if you choose to share it with the members, which we hope you do, we'll make that available for members to review online and perhaps even publicly if you'd like it out on our YouTube channel. And I'm asking the participants to put their questions in the chat, stay off video until such a time you want to open it up for the audience. And then if they want to turn video back on, they can.
Sure.
So with that, you are in the spotlight and look forward to hearing what you and Betterworks are offering, and feel free to ask questions of the audience as you choose.
Yeah. Maybe I'll start with a question. Some folks I've met some folks may be familiar with Betterworks. I'll use a couple slides and tell you about who we are and who our audience is and how we position ourselves. I can give a little insight in terms of where we're going on something like AI. But I run partnerships for Betterworks, which is part tech partnerships. I think the conversation I walked into may have been talking about that. We tend to build a lot of things ourselves. So we don't go crazy with tech partners from a product standpoint. We're in the performance management space, so we tend to find other tech partners that are in adjacent spaces, whether it's learning, whether it's mobility, whether it's some sort of development. And then, of course, we have to play with kind of core HR providers on one end, maybe compensation on the other end. But we build a lot of things ourselves. The thing I am getting to is the modern performance management space isn't something that we talk to a lot of big companies who they say things like, I never really thought about looking to a best of breed provider for performance management. We also hear things like we don't like performance management that much, and maybe they're related to each other, but we're trying to get the word out that there is a better approach for performance management as a best of breed for large companies, like there are for a lot of other functional areas within HR and within HR tech. So that's a bit of an introduction to who we are. Betterworks is performance management as a best of breed for medium to large companies. Sorry if I finished my question. So if you know how to get into whether it's big consulting firms, boutique consulting firms, somebody that's doing performance management advisory work, even to open up a dialogue with a client, like I'm really interested in things like that. What we find, though, is that most big companies have a performance management issue. It takes a lot of time to do the performance management process. It tends to be not appreciated. It's backward looking. What did I accomplish last year as opposed to what's next year going to be like? In a lot of cases, it's goals that are set in a big HR system. And we set them in January. We don't really look at them until we have to write the review. So we think there's a much better way than that. If you think about core components to the Betterworks platform, performance management touches a lot of different things. People think about it as the review, but it's how did we get there? So we think about it as engagement, goals, business goals, developmental goals, one-on-ones, feedback recognition from peers, check-ins and performance reviews, and then calibration. Are we being fair? Is there consistency? Calibration is interesting because it's not just calibrating on a performance review. It's, can I figure out today who my flight risks in my business are? Because we're going to go through some big change in the next 6 months, and I need to know who my flight risks are and how valuable they are. And that might be the kind of thing I actually need to know right now or soon. That's not part of a typical performance cycle. So calibration becomes kind of like on-demand decision-making. Employee development and succession planning, we put future for those, partly because there are other vendors that do interesting things here. And so for us, there is a consideration. Do we build it? Do we buy it? Do we partner with it? Although they're in the performance management world. And then we're built on I think in the flow of work with a great UX is kind of what we've done and what we've been known for. Can I access these things without having to go to Betterworks? Can it be as enjoyable as performance can be as I'm going through this process? And what we find is that if it's about something you're working on and something you're working on, you know how it fits in, and my performance conversations are real. It's like on a level of enjoyability, it's kind of enjoyable. And then we've built around this platform where everything they're not independent, they're connected. So how performance conversations go is connected to how goals go. Our check-ins are connected to how our engagement may be in a particular area. So everything's somewhat connected. One quote here, this is a Colgate quote. In the flow of work for us is the systems you're working in. Am I in Google? Am I in Slack? Am I in Teams? Am I in Outlook? Can I connect the places that I spend my time now instead of having to go into a separate platform? So for example, if I'm in Gmail, I can see, and you send me an email, I can see your goals in my Gmail. So when you send me an email, I can then put in context, what are your current goals for the current quarter? I can give you feedback. I can ask for feedback. I can see one-on-one agendas. I can see it all without ever leaving my Gmail. In Slack, I can do the same thing. I can give you feedback. I can ask for goal updates. I can give goal updates. And I could keep going with examples, but the idea is to create the places you're actually working. Let's make it easy to start there. And then you can back your way into Betterworks if you want to. And that lowers a lot of the friction. And we see a lot of, a big increase in frequency. So some of the studies out there will look at goal updates in like a Workday or Success Factors, and it's usually 3 times a year you'll go in and update goals. In Betterworks, it's more like once a week, and I'm tying relevant updates on things I'm working on. I'm updating them frequently, and now I can start to get goal updates. I can get check-in updates. I can get conversations between folks. I get frequency of data, which means that analytics on the back end, for example, become much more interesting. Differentiators for us, I'll do a couple positioning kind of where we are. One, in the flow of work, which I talked about, is something that not many folks, certainly in the performance management space, we're competing against largely the core HR system. So in the flow of work is one thing we do to differentiate. On the analytics side, we partner with Visier. So we have some of our own analytics. We partner with Visier on analytics. So we can do really interesting things like not only where is high performance in my business, but why is high performance in that part of the business? Are the managers doing something different in an area that's leading to high performance? So there's a lot of analytics capability we have. Enterprise, we're focused on big companies. So we serve US and largely Europe, US and Western European clients. Our biggest customers, 175,000 people in probably over 100 countries. So we're multilingual, operate everywhere globally. From a security and compliance standpoint, we've built a lot to make sure that we pass all the scrutiny that's put on from a InfoSec, privacy, data sharing, things like that. And then we do have program architects. Performance is, it's not the performance review. It's how managers set goals, how goals are connected to leadership strategy, how feedback is given or received. So we build program expertise into all that, which is something we carry along as part of our implementations. Positioning, here's how we think of positioning. I don't think there's a ton of disagreement about this. It's not meant to say one part's great and another part's not. But we look at ourselves as best of breed for big companies. Lattice, Culture, and 15.5, which would be often in competition for smaller clients, don't actively sell to 20,000 person companies. Workday and Success Factors do, but from a best of breed standpoint, they're a system of record that does everything. We think about this as a system of engagement, which is it's a purpose-built engagement layer that connects with Workday. All of our bigger, 80% of our bigger customers are Workday or Success Factors customers, and we're connecting with those platforms, integrating with them. Some Oracle, some UKG, depending on where we are. And then the business case around the HCM platform is, it's purpose-built as a system of engagement. The adoption rate and the usage rate is high. And then the integration essentially allows you to move whatever data back and forth. If you're running compensation in Workday, you can move performance data into compensation. If you're running compensation in the third party, you can move it there. I mean, it's data, so it can move anywhere. Probably not surprising to many of you. This piece, what's been happening recently, I'll probably end on this. A few things that are notable. Couple big clients, Swiss, Cunard is a big Swiss shipping company, 90,000 employees. Big Swiss shipping companies might not be our target market, so we're pleasantly surprised to see progressive thinking around something like performance. Disparate systems all over the world. How do we get some consistency around direction, goals tied to strategic objectives and performance conversations related back in some more consistent way. Lincoln Financials in Philadelphia, which many of you might know. Volt is the European acquisition of DoorDash. Unlike DoorDash, where the DoorDashers are contract workers, the Volt folks are employees. It's more European model, so they are it's not W-2, but they're employees as opposed to contractors. So they actually opted to start in Europe as opposed to in the US. And then
2 minutes, Dustin, 2 minutes.
2 minutes. And then Springer is what I'd call an old school German publishing company that's trying to modernize and compete in a digitized world. And so bringing modern employee experiences, including performance up to speed. You see some of the product side. Visier, I mentioned, we're doing a lot in the generative AI. Think about like goal assistants writing goals, assistants writing feedback, assistants with conversations. If you think of a LLM or a ChatGPT, they fit right in there really well. There's a lot of debate about how you do it safely, healthily, how IT teams will accept it. I may have walked in on part of that conversation, but we're doing a lot to understand that part. And then our CEO and Doug and Jamie wrote a book called Make Work Better. If any of you want a copy of Make Work Better, let me know and I can get you a copy. And that's my spotlight word, and I appreciate the time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Wow, so much, and you're doing some amazing things. So it's great to get that update. And we might have to carry some of these conversations to the town hall Friday, I think, because I know there's burning desire to have discussions around these points, and see if we can make it longer next time. But Dustin, thank you.
Can I take your question in 1 minute?
Give it a shot. Yeah, please.
We had analytics before we partnered with Visier, but analytics is one of those things where you think like there are people that specialize in this and firms that specialize in this. Are we really gonna get ahead if we do this part really well? Are we really gonna do this part really well? And so as part of the partnering motion for me, we could partner with them. We know who their customers are. They know who ours are. We could work together. At the same time, we could OEM them. And so we've always had analytics, program analytics, but now we have what I'd call better people analytics that can be tied into engagement rates of populations relative to performance scores. And then you can cut it by gender or tenure or location. And you can do a lot more interesting things. Could we have built that? The Visier folks would say no. With enough time and money, you can build anything.
Yeah.
But we decided that it's better to partner with somebody who's people analytics specifically. So it's a better version of what we have. We still have what we had, and now we have a better version on top.
Nice. Wow. That's great. Yeah. Thanks for taking that question. I was really curious. So that's good.
Thanks for the time, mate.